Welcome to this episode of Inside the Music. We are speaking with Jamie of Empire to Ashes. How you doing?
Good, man. How's things?
Yeah, can't complain.
Nice.
So, you are part of you are the group that is alternative electronica post-rock.
Yep, I couldn't find a label that actually sounded any good, so that would be it. Yeah, it was really an opportunity for me to step out of being part of a band and actually put myself out there for once. I always found that in a band itself, I was kind of self-limiting. So it was like, hey, time's good, let's give it a shot. And yeah, I still don't know what a good label for that band or that music would be. So if anyone's got any ideas, hit me up.
Yeah, because you used to be in 3 or 4 different kind of hard rock groups.
Yeah, so absolutely. So my background has mostly been in sort of hard rocks. So I previously played in Ishtar, Nakwita, and most recently Poison Skies, which was kind of a hard rocky, punky type thing. So it's quite a departure, but something a bit different. But it's part of me that's always been there, but I just haven't had a chance to explore it.
Yeah. So what about that style kind of has drawn you to it?
This might be a long-winded story. You might have to edit this one. To be honest, I moved over to Canada when I was about, I don't know, mid-30s, and I was going through this real crisis moment of what is music, what is heartfelt, soulful, what is worthwhile music. And I gave up writing, I gave up playing, I gave up everything at the time. And it wasn't until I started getting these sounds and these noises that I was hearing, parts of the traffic, parts of the people's noise, and yeah, just some of the sort of background soundscapes that you get out of cities, especially a big city like Toronto or Auckland. And that's kind of been sitting there in the background the whole time of how do I get that feeling back into music. Yeah, so a bit of a strange progression through, but yeah, it was very much I'm sick of 4 chords and the truth for now. I want to try something different. Yeah, and this was as different as it could go.
It certainly is. I've had a listen to the album, and I've I suppose the best question to ask is, what's your favorite track on your album?
That's like, which is your favorite child?
And I ask this mainly because I would have trouble naming half the songs on your album.
Yeah, fair enough. There's always going to be a soft spot for the song or the track, My Own Phantom Limb. It was the first, I hate to say single, but the first thing that came out. And it was probably the first one where I actually sat back and went, yeah, this is kind of the sound I want to do. I finally managed to catch that sound. So there's always a soft spot for that. But I think one of the difficulties is always, as with any musician, is by the time you're having this conversation, you've already moved past it. So the album In Pieces was roughly sort of May last year, released in January this year. There's actually already another album sitting there ready to go.
Yeah.
So you kind of move past, and that's the hard bit. It's like, what next? Where next? But yeah, the other one I am quite fond of is the long beast that's about 10 minutes long that reverses on itself and just gets wild. That's fun. That has an unpronounceable name, which is even more fun. And it fucks up a lot of servers when you try and put that track up on it. It's great.
Yes, it's got the old the brackets.
Yeah.
The HTML.
Yeah, so it's the HTML for pause. So it's like a comment within the whole track so the whole album is essentially a story floating through it, but not in a linear way. The story actually starts at the end, and that's a pause in the middle of it, where we actually stop and start thinking back and giving out some of the clues for what people should be listening for if they want to dig deeper into the story.
Yeah. So, along with your album, all your songs have their own videos that go with them. how much time have you put into those videos? Like, it seems like a lot of work has gone into it.
Yeah, so one of the things when I was one of the things I really wanted to explore was sound and vision at the same time. So having a video for every single track that was going to expand on that a little bit. There's also, which not a lot of people know about, a blog which I've been writing about, basically reflecting on all of the tracks, going back and thinking them through and going, you know, what was some of the instrumentation I used in there? What was I thinking at the time? And yeah, so it's a lot of work, but the good thing is it's only me.
Yeah.
So the work happens whenever I want it to happen. So a little bit of downtime over lunchtime or something. Here's 30 seconds of a video edited up and ready to go. Yeah. And a lot of the videos are sort of, they're found footage. So stock footage used in different ways and layered over with different ways.
So tell me about your blog. 'Cause I did have a quick squiz through it earlier. You know, you talk about the tempos and time signatures and how many layers you've got and the choice of lyrics and that sort of thing. You don't get many artists that like actually talking about the process of, you know, creating the music and everything that goes into it. So what drew you to, you know, put all that out there?
What drew me there was I set myself some pretty hard challenges when I first started the album. And so one of the challenges was no song was to be in 4/4. So everything had to be in an odd time signature, but it had to sound like it was natural or slightly off kilter, but it had to sound the way that song wanted to sound. And it had to sound kind of natural to the ear. So it was a bit of a, you know, I've always loved when artists would talk about their stuff. So hopefully someone somewhere will go, oh, that's a really cool idea. Maybe I can try something a little different in my writing and step it up. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I've always envisaged it being this kind of world, the whole world of it. And if I could draw, there'd be a webcomic as well, or a graphic novel or something as well. But I can only write and I can only play music. So that's all I can do.
Yeah, fair enough. So with you releasing all the videos and everything, I suppose with the release of the album, is that kind of your way of, you know, being able to move past that sooner? Because, you know, a lot of people do tend to release a single, then a single, and a year later they're still pushing out tracks from that same album. And you say you've already moved on.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a bit of a sense of, completion and closure. And if I wanted it to be a multimedia project, it didn't seem to make sense to me to release the audio component separately to the video component. Set them out, get them together at the same time, push them out at the same time made sense. So it was a thing of, well, if I've made the call that every single track is going to have a video, it makes sense for all the videos to come out exactly at the same time as all of the audio tracks come out. And then the blog's been a sort of a, we'll mop up the pieces afterwards because I can't do everything. It took a little while. And it's nice to get some distance from the songs and reflect on them. And some of the weird instruments that ended up in there. Yeah.
So tell me about the weird instruments they got in there. There was like, you know, Maori flutes, was it? Or
yeah. So had this weird moment where I was up at the QMU AMP show, and I ran into this guy who was, I think he was from Gisborne, and he was selling what he calls putarino, which is a Māori flute, traditional Māori flute. And I was just like, this sound is so haunting. Whenever he played it, it was like, this is amazing. Such a haunting sound. I've got to be able to use this somewhere. So I ended up buying this thing off him. So I was like, well, why not? Tormented everyone in my house for probably 6 months while I was getting the most awful noises out of this thing. And finally managed to play the 4 notes that are on the album. And that's why there's 4 notes of it on the album, is because I couldn't get any more. But yeah, it was like, okay, wife's gone out for a morning. Now I'm going to nail this Māori flute solo kind of thing, and then I'm going to bury it in the mix so deep that hardly anyone will hear it. It's kind of fun, but yeah, so there was that. I picked up this weird instrument in Canada called a tamboa, which the best way to describe it is like a wooden xylophone or glockenspiel. So it's got a bit more organic nature to it. Yeah, it doesn't have that tinginess.
Yep.
So that's buried in a few songs as well. It's just a weird kind of woody, earthy, naturally kind of sound. Yeah, so that ended up in there. There's some weird instruments hanging around my house, and I just want to use them all.
If you got it, you might as well.
Yeah. That's the way, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is your inspiration for the songs? Are there specific events that have, inspired you? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I said, the whole album is a story, and I'm sitting quite tight on that line of how much of the story do I tell people about and how much do I kind of let them figure out for themselves. Yeah, 'cause it's a story that I don't want to kind of sell or commercialize in any way, but it's my reactions to this that I'm happy to put out there. This horrific thing that happened is my reactions and my ways of working through it. Yeah, and I forgot the rest of the question.
So have I.
Yeah, don't know. I started going off and I was like, I don't know where I'm getting back to.
Yeah, the influences on the songs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, musical influences, it's probably hard to hear them in there, but bands like Tool, I'm really big fan of what they're doing. There's a band, again, like found when I was in Canada, called Raised by Swans, which not a lot of people have heard of, but he just does these really beautiful, isolated, sparse type songs, and that's been a massive influence on it. Yeah, I think there's been quite a bit of metal influence, even though it's hard to hear it. Yeah.
All right. So, tell us what you can about your songwriting process.
Yeah, so the song for this particular project, it's a very, very different process than it has been in anything else. Everything else has been very collaborative with 3 or 4 other people. Someone brings in a riff to the studio, and we just jam it out and we see what happens. This obviously being only one person, I've tried to recover some of that, but it's really difficult. So it'd be building a layer and then trying to put another layer on top of it and on top of it and on top of it. And that's why for some of those songs you can see there's 17 instrument layers over the top of this riff, which buries it quite deeply inside the song, which you feel but you don't necessarily always pick up and hear instantly. So in that regard, things like Radiohead's OK Computer, that album, I remember when I was a kid listening to it on headphones and going, shit, I've never heard that song. I've never heard that sound before. And this was like my 20th time listening to this. And I wanted to create something like it, like that you can come back to and go, I've never heard that little noise, that little beep, what is that? Yeah. So the songwriting process for me is just, there's a lot of exploration of sound. There's a lot of putting things on top of each other. I don't worry too much about the mix and the master at that time. It's just get all the noises in there, then start. Once I've got everything in there, once I've got those layers built, it's which ones go where, how do they fit. The hardest bit has been on In Pieces was where do the words fit, where does the voice fit. That was always the last piece, and it was really sort of bolted on over the top. Yeah, everything else was done, and it was like, here's a little gap, I could save some stuff here. Let's do that. That'd be great. Yeah.
Would you say the process is faster or slower than working with other people?
I think the timing is pretty much the same, but the time period over which it occurs is really compressed. So it's probably the same amount of total hours, but the difference being, for instance, in Poison Skies, we'd only get together once or twice a week for 4 hours.
Yeah.
So it might take us, 16 hours to write a song, but that 16 hours were going to be over 3 or 4 weeks. Whereas in this, I can dedicate that 16 hours in a manic fury of energy into 2 days. And just, so things are coming together quicker in terms of the calendar year, but it's roughly the same sort of time frame. Yeah. But what is really interesting to me is I've really felt the good and the bad of doing it by myself. The positive is being able to do it whenever I want, wherever I want. The negative has been not having anyone else pulling in ideas. So I've had a couple of people that I've called on that have generally listened to songs before anyone else has. So that's actually JP from Armed in Advance and Aaron from Curly's Jewels down in Wellington. They've heard a few things before anyone else has and gone, yep, change that mix, that sucks. Or do this. No, they never said it sucked, but yeah. Got a few people in the inner circle that will hear stuff and give me that feedback that I miss by not working collaboratively. And it's never been my goal to do it 100% singly. I'd be really keen to get more collaborative writing, and with the internet now, there's no reason why I couldn't work with someone that's down in Wellington. Yeah. Hey, here's a track, lay a guitar over it. Or do whatever you want with it. And that I find fascinating, and that's something I'd like to explore.
So, what is next for Empire to Ashes?
What is next is, so the 5th of June, there is another piece of work that's coming out, which is called Deconstructed, Between the Pieces. That is essentially an extension of the first album. So, when I did the first album, there was a lot of things I cut out. And thinking back to that, I was like, no, these shouldn't sit on the editing floor. This is good material. So it's been a sort of a re-look at that. And I've actually essentially expanded the entire universe. So track 1 of In Pieces runs directly into track 1 of Deconstructed, which runs into track 2 of In Pieces, and so on. So it just builds that world deeper. Yeah, so that would be the next thing. So I'm kind of hesitant to say it's an album because it's a 9 song piece of work that's nearly 45 to an hour long, but it's still thinking and re-exploring some of the soundscapes that were in pieces that got hidden or cut.
Because one of the songs you've got, you had
with a pronounceable title.
Yes. Yes. I think it was My Own Phantom Limb.
Yep.
Had you got a single version, you've got an album version. I think there's a remix version as well. So are your songs ever finished?
That one isn't.
Will you keep...
That one doesn't seem to be. No, that one ended up with a lot of versions because, as I said earlier, one of my challenges, I set multiple challenges for myself on this, and one of them was I was going to do everything. So with the exception of DRM, who actually get things up onto Spotify or onto iTunes and etc. for me, everything else is done in-house. So the mix, the master, everything, the video, the whole works. But what that meant was when My Own Phantom Limb, which is the first track that came out, when it actually got onto those digital platforms, I suddenly realized I didn't like how it sounded. It came out, it was up, and I was like, man, something's missing out of here. So if you listen back and you listen to that version versus the version that I put up on Bandcamp for free, which was my, hey, sorry, I fucked up. It was like, have this one for free because it's better than this one because I didn't really know what I was doing with this one. And here I kind of know what I'm doing a little bit more. Yeah. So that's kind of where that ended up going, unfortunately. A bit of a trial and error, and not really intended, but you saying other songs ever really finished, the fact that there's a whole nother 45 minutes of them, probably not. But I'd like to just walk away from them.
So I suppose the one last question I really need to ask, with your style of music, is this something that you can actually tour with, or is this just going to be a home project?
That is a really good question, and it's one I'm currently asking myself. I never intended it to be something I could tour with, but I'm really missing playing live. Yeah, I'm really, really missing it. But on the flip side of that coin as well is, at the moment, all the creative decisions I'm making and I don't really want to ask someone else to come in and just do things the way I've made it. So if there was to be a live version of Empire to Ashes, I'd want to rethink everything again, change things, get other people's feedback in. The live versions would be probably quite different again. And if we're touring it, I want to keep that multimedia approach. I want to keep massive lighting rigs, the whole works. So I don't know financially how that's going to work, but part of it is, how do you make the listener or viewer fall into this whole new world you're creating them? And I think going to see a standard live performance, you couldn't do it. So what I'm envisaging is an incredibly dark room with multiple projectors, a 360 type approach. But I don't know if we'll see it anytime soon, because it's bloody hard to do. Lots of smoke machines if I do it.
Oh, yeah. Smoke machines.
Yeah, endless smoke machines.
All right, well,
yeah.
Thank you for taking the time to chat with us.
Cool. We got what we need.
Sweet.
Done. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.